So here is the my music that I use to test with. Um, and let me just go over some of these songs. As you can see right here, there's 68 songs, soon to be 70. So couple things. Well, not couple things. This is music that I listen to either a lot. These songs I listen to over and over and over again, so I know them very well. Or they're just a really good recording quality, or they're a recording quality of they're going to, if there's a flaw, it'll expose it, right? Which is very few. Most of these are just really good recordings. Adele, Set Fire to the Rain. Um, I still think that was the best song in 2011 that came out. I think that album came out in 2011. That's a very powerful song. She has a very powerful voice. I thought it was very uh, recorded very well, engineered well, and produced very extremely well. It's just a very powerful song. Janie's Got a Gun. That has a lot of stuff in the background. So that will your DAC will reveal a lot of that. So that's one of the things I like about it. It wasn't until the Bifrost 2 or even the Modius, I didn't hear the clapping in the background with that. I thought that was very interesting. So that kind of brought it out. But again, there's a lot of stuff where Steven Tyler, that kind of thing. It's a little bit more not in your face, but a little bit louder, the way the original recording quality was. Plus, it's a really good mix. The bass is very awesome in that song. Same thing with Uninvited. Uninvited is a very kind of stripped down song. Um, Not to the point, to where it's just a bare basics, but it starts off very slow. It starts off with just the piano and Alanis, and that's it. Um, and then it starts building, building, and building. And how well did the DAC and the amp with that transition from quiet to loud? So that's one of those songs that it will help you determine if your DAC is doing a really good job. Now, Not Even a King is a very stripped down song because it's just her and it's just Alicia and a piano, and that's it. So you're going to hear a lot of different things in that. Let It Rain by Amanda Marshall is a great song. Came out in 95, if I remember correctly, 95, 96, because I was working at a record store. And that song is just amazing. Great acoustic song. It's just, she's got a very powerful voice as well, too. Just a very good overall recording quality. Audio Machine, I love Audio Machine. They are I guess they would be considered new age. A lot of instrumental stuff with backing choir and stuff like that. Awesome, awesome, awesome. New Beginning is probably one of their best songs. And if you were a band, I would use New Beginning as your intro music because it builds. It's really, really cool. Bet Middle of the Rose, obviously, this is just a classic song. But how well did your DAC again handle the transition from live to the studio recording of the song? And it gets very soft and it gets very loud, especially when it builds towards the end. How well did it handle it? Albatross by Big Wreck. This song is awesome. The singer has a great voice. He's using a 12-string electric guitar. They're using a slide on the guitar as well too. So how well um, does this come out without crackling your speakers? The separation of the band. Obviously there's a 12-string, there's a bass, there's a regular guitar, there's a drummer in there. How well does it separate that stuff? Because this song on a really terrible DAC can sound really, really bad, but on a really good DAC, and that's just not just a really good DAC, but just a good DAC, it sounds really amazing. Black Crowes, Descender. This is one of my favorite songs by them, but it's a song that I think gets overlooked a lot. It is all acoustic with the piano. Um, their pianist, Ed something, I know they call him Old Weird Ed, which is unbelievably funny. He brought another dynamic to the band, right? Adding that piano to the band just made them a little bit better, right? little bit more better than what they were. They were already a great band, but adding the piano was a great idea. And this is one of those songs where it kind of features the band, and then as a song comes to an end, they slowly fade out instruments except for the piano. That's really cool, and it handles it very, very well. "Roll Me Away," that is my favorite song by Bob Seger. Bob Seger, he's got a great voice, great smoky lounge singer style voice, right? But this song starts off slow and then it builds. And because it's a lot of acoustics, the mids are kind of high with this. Um, and I kind of like that. So, and it sounds like a live recording, right? And if you don't know what that is, sometimes musicians will do everybody will be in the same room and they do a live recording. They just play the song live and they record it and that's it, right? Other bands will lay tracks down, or they'll do the live recording and then lay tracks down on top of that, and you can hear the difference in between that. If you have a good enough ear, you can hear the difference between a live recorded song and a layered song layered with tracks. But "Roll Me Away" and "Descender" are exactly that way. They were live recordings. Chris Cornell, "Nothing Compares to You." I was not a huge Soundgarden fan. I liked them. I wasn't a fan of the grunge movement per se. Soundgarden was one of the bands that I did like from the 90s. Um, with that being said, I know talent. I could you don't even need to know talent. You don't even have to have an ear for music. But as soon as you hear him sing this song, as soon as he comes in, the power in his voice just it consumes you. It overwhelms you. And if you don't believe me, watch YouTube videos of reactions to Chris Cornell's "Nothing Compares to You." In my personal opinion, Chris Cornell and Steve Perry and Nat King Cole and James Taylor. Those are probably the top four male vocalists out there. This, in my opinion, and this is going to be controversial, to me is the greatest cover song ever. Now think about what I said before. I wasn't a huge Soundgarden fan, but I know talent when I see it, and Chris Cornell had a bunch of talent. And for someone who says, yeah, their band is okay, to come out and say this is the greatest cover song ever, that shows how talented he is and how powerful of a voice he is. So let me stop riding his jock here. The Cult, "Firewoman." I was going to add the song "She Sells Sanctuary," but in "Firewoman," in the beginning, there is a sound that it keeps over and over and over again in the beginning. And if you really want to know how your DAC is decompressing the song, listen to "Firewoman" and listen to that intro. When the guitar da 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 da, after that last note, there's a and they use a reverb, or I don't think it's not a pitch shift. It's almost a reverb effect. It's not the flange, but it's just a reverb effect that keeps going over and over and over again. And if you really want to know how good your DAC is, listen to that song and see how well it comes out. But not just that, but Ian Asbury has some great vocals in that song too. He sometimes can overpower the microphone, right? Speaking of overpower the microphone, "Dashboard Confessional," "Screaming Infidelities." Now, this is the first version, if I remember correctly, the only acoustic one. That style, that genre of music, I guess emo rock in the 2000s, where it was kind of a screaming, but in tune, a clear screaming but in tune, that could overpower as well. But it's also acoustic, so acoustic guitars can actually show flaws. Ants Marching, Dave Matthews Band. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff involved with the Dave Matthews Band, a lot of different instruments. And plus, anytime I get a chance to hear their drummer, Carter Buford, He is just an amazing drummer and a left-handed drummer at that. Left-handed drummers usually, as a former drummer, uh, left-handed drummers have a tendency to not be as good as right-handed drummers. But he is the man and definitely a top 10 drummer of all time. And just hearing that pop in the beginning, a snare drum can reveal some mids with it, especially if it's tuned correctly. And that's just one of those songs where Ants Marching is a really good song. Dorothy, Flawless, probably Dorothy is, she has the greatest female voice that's ever come out since the early 80s. I mean, her voice is so unbelievable. I mean, don't get me wrong, Adele's really great too when I'm talking about rock music. But when you think female vocals, you think, you know, um, Anne from Heart, and you think Pat Benatar. Those are some great rock female voices. She has one of the greatest voices that come out in probably a good 30, 40 years. Now, obviously, it's a different style of voice when you think of Adele, or you may think of, her name is escaping me. Whitney Houston probably has one of the greatest voices ever. She sung the national anthem the best. No one has ever come close to how good of a amazing job that she did on the national anthem. But Dorothy's voice, it was her voice is just a fresh of breath air from the past 30, 40 years. Dream Theater, Dance of Eternity. There's like a lot of songs I wanted to put on here. I didn't want to do duplicates, and that was the thing. And there was a lot of duplicate songs from Dream Theater that I really wanted to put on here. There, Fall Into the Light is an awesome song. That was a great one. Um, but I did the Dance of Eternity because this is literally one of the hardest songs to play ever. It is one of the most complicated songs. It has over 100 time signature changes. And they're doing a lot in this song. Can your DAC keep up with this? And that's why I have that song in there. That's the question. If you really want to put your DAC to the test, listen to that song. Listen to it over and over and over. You have to listen to it more than 10 times. Listen to it over and over again. And is your DAC keeping up with it, especially with 100 different time signatures? Pump It Up. I always like throwing in older recorded music because sometimes it's not recorded very well. And Elvis Costello, Pump It Up, obviously just a classic song. But how well does it kind of make it sound new, in my opinion? If you notice, I'm not using any technical terms like timbre or space. I'm not going to do that because a lot of people, um, are novice, to listening to music, and they don't know a lot, so don't want to overcomplicate things. But how well can it make that old song sound new again? Right? Does it sound like it was recorded, back in the 70s, or does it sound that did it clear up a lot of stuff and make it sound kind of new again, basically? Four Seasons, or Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, December 1963, one of my favorite songs of all time. Great song. It's a song that whenever I hear it, my foot instantly starts tapping. I wanted to do Walk Like a Man, because very high pitched sound, or Sherry, very high pitched sound. But at the end of the day, this was my favorite Frankie Valli song, so I had to do this one. And I know that song is the one I always listen to the most. George Michael, One More Try. Another, not a basic but broken down song. It's just him, the keyboards, the bass, and the drums, and that's it. And the bassist, for this being a slow song, the bassist is all doing an awesome job in this song. Forgot the bassist's name. I don't think it was Tony Levin who was recording this song, or Victor Wooten. It was somebody, but they are doing an amazing job in it, and does it overpower. That's how you can tell. Again, this song, the bass in this song, along with the keyboards, can overpower the song on a very cheap DAC, I would say. So let me scroll up here. I love George Winston. He's a great pianist. And this was my favorite album by him. And again, I got this album when I was working at a record store. I think it came out in 94, 95. He called it Linus and Lucy, the music of Vince Guaraldi. I love Vince Guaraldi too. He was awesome. Um, he does a lot of the Linus and Lucy stuff that you heard in the cartoon, obviously. One of my favorite songs is Cast Your Fate to the Wind. And, a really good DAC, you can hear the keys pressing down. You can hear him tapping on the sustainer pedals, right? So that song, with a really good deck, you can hear a lot. I'm the type of person I like to hear everything that's happening. I like to hear the pick hit the guitar string. I like to hear the keys are pressed down, and you can hear that with a lot with a really good DAC. My Bifrost two, my Bifrost 264 or Bifrost 264 it really does that very well. The AudioQuest Cobalt Blue and the Red do that. The Cobalt Blue does it better than the Red. The Red does it, but you can't hear it as loud as what you could. The Modius did a really good job of that. Well, the Shit Audio Modus did a really good job with that as well too. And so did my DAC Magic that I had a year or two ago. Goo Goo Dolls Iris, obviously, we all know Goo Goo Dolls does a lot of acoustic stuff, and this is just a really good song. Does listening to a song on a really good DAC make it sound better? That's how you know it's a really good DAC. It makes the listening better, and that's exactly what it did. That's Iris is a really good song, probably one of the greatest songs written in that time frame. I can't remember. Was it? It was either late '90s or early 2000s, but still one of the greatest songs written in that decade. Godsmack Vampires. This is a instrumental song. They recorded the majority of this album in drop D, and you can tell because drop D in a guitar is just very, very fat. Rage Against the Machine does it a lot. Soundgarden does it a lot as well too. Recording in drop D. And the bass is awesome. It's kicking, it's thumping in this song. And even the guitars, because it's in drop D, it is punching you in the chest. A really good song. But you can see on a really bad DAC, it can really ruin the listening experience very quickly. Highway Tune, this is just a really good song by Greta Van Fleet, or AKA Greta Led Zeppelin. They get crap for that. And, I guess rightfully so. They do sound a little bit like a Led Zeppelin, a little too much. But this is probably my favorite song by them. A really, really great song. Hans Zimmer, and like I said, I do listen to a lot of different styles of music. Hans Zimmer, "Dream is Collapsing" from Inception is awesome, and the strings get very high in this one, and do I need to adjust it with my EQ, right? Or does it do a very good job of separation, especially with symphonic music? Because obviously there's going to be sometimes over 200, 100 to 200 to 300 musicians playing at one time. Can you hear the separation? Can you hear the difference in the brass, the string, and the woodwinds? Can you hear that? No? Maybe you should get a new DAC. But the Bifrost 2 does a really good job with that. Hootie and the Blowfish, Let Her Cry. Obviously, this is just a great song. And the beginning of that song is very, very revealing to headphones, to an headphone amp, to a DAC, to everything. That baritone voice just comes right out, and so does the acoustics. So that's a really good song to listen to. Uh, what's the other one they did? Hold My Hand would be another good one to listen to, but I think Let Her Cry is a better song to listen to test music with. Jackson Browne, Somebody's Baby Tonight. This is one of my favorite songs of all time. It really is. It's probably in the top 20, maybe not top 10, but it is definitely in the top 20. Really, really good song. It was recorded late 70s, early 80s. Actually, late 70s, if I remember correctly. But you can tell. But with a really good DAC, you can't. Jesse Cook. Jesse Cook, again, someone I started listening to. I got a free demo CD when I was working in the record store. And this was just a really good album. He's got another one called Gravity. That's a really good album as well, too. So Tempest and Gravity. If you like acoustic guitars, kind of Spanish style guitar, you'll like Jesse Cook. This is the best song on the album. Ironically, it is the self-titled song. Really, really good song. Really amazing guitar player. You'll like that. Speaking of amazing guitar players, Joe Satriani. Another great song, but this album or this recording of this song and even that album was done very, very well. It's hard to record a really good album when there's a lot of distortion, and a lot of rock and heavy metal has a lot of distortion, right? But Joe Satriani, the perfectionist that he is, did a really good job with that. That's the reason why. Journey, again, Steve Perry, I believe one of my top five greatest male singers of all time. Who's Crying Now? Now I picked this song. There's other songs I wanted to pick Faithfully. That's probably one of my favorite songs on, or Still They Ride, another great song. But I did Who's Crying Now because that is a very basic, stripped down song. It's not, don't get me wrong, I'm not diminishing the song, but it is very simplistic in its form, simplistic in a good way. It's not overproduced. It basically sounds like they were in a bar one night and there were probably 7 people left. It was close to closing time and they recorded this song. You know, the way I think Ross Valerie and Jonathan Cain were on this one. I think Ross Valerie was the bassist on this one. I think it was Ross Valerie. Um, uh, the bass and the key, and the piano and the keys are on point with that, along with Steve Perry's voice. Um, Katy Perry, Thinking of You. The reason why I chose this one is because the song builds. The acoustic starts off. It's a really good song. The song builds, and then towards the end, it gets louder and louder and louder. And that is when again, this is a song, can your DAC handle that transition? DAC with the amp. Does it do it very well? Because a lot of passion, a lot of soul goes into the song towards the end. And she's screaming out, in your eyes, in your eye, I mean, it's a really good song. He's a Pirate by Klaus Badelt, obviously from Pirates Caribbean. Really good song. Love this song. Again, a lot of strings in the song, and it's obviously with symphonic music, it is recorded. It's not layered like a lot of other music, like pop and rock and stuff like that. So usually they're doing this in 1 or 2 takes. Sounds really good. Again, I talked about this in the Jotunheim 2 review. Uh, Kiss's Unplugged album, and a lot of people hate this album. I don't know why. But Kiss's Unplugged album is a really good album to listen to. Coming Home was probably, even though it's the beginning, I think that set the tone for this album. Domino sounds awesome in the acoustic one. Every Time I Look at You, um, I Still Love You. I mean, Paul Stanley's voice in that one, he hits it. I mean, he is doing his thing in that song. Come On and Love Me, Nothing to Lose. Obviously, these songs that just sound really, really good. And acoustic stuff like this, when you've already heard it electric, when you hear it acoustic, you hear the flaws. You hear the flaws a lot. Very hard to fill the gap. You can fill the gap with electric guitars, but it's very hard to fill the gap with acoustic stuff. Again, 2 more basic, not basic, but stripped down songs. Lady Gaga, Million Reasons, and Lauren Daigle, You Say, right? So with A Million Reasons, it doesn't really, there's a part where it does get kind of loud and there's a big transition, but not as loud as, what you would think it would be. But it's just, you can hear the piano, you can hear the passion in her voice. Again, does that amp and DAC change the way you hear the song? And that's how you know you got a good DAC and amp. Same thing, what You Say does build. There's obviously backing singers in the back, doing that. How well can you hear that? And does it overpower Lauren Daigle's voice? Did the DAC separate the music and instruments and vocals the way it should have? Lenny Kravitz, Can't Get You Off My Mind. Again, another acoustic song. Love that one. And that's just the reason it can help do that. Halfway done here. Lifehouse Broken, another great song. And not that, I mean, it was recorded it was recorded well, but did it change the meaning of the song to my ears? Right. Lightning Crashes by Live. This song is one of those songs, along with their other one. What's the other song? Um, Turn My Head. These songs make me stop what I'm doing. Whenever I hear Lightning Crashes or Turn My Head by Live, I stop in my tracks. I stop what I'm doing. I can't do anything. Mentally, it messes me up in my head. Now, Some people going, "Oh, you're an idiot," "You're a sissy," and all this other stuff. I'm passionate about music. I've been in music for, started playing, the trumpet when I was 10 years old. So, I listen to music more than I watch TV. It's just that song is just mm, does it for me. Liquid Tension Experiment. This is basically half of, or not half of the band is from Dream Theater. The other half isn't. Very good, revealing song. Marilyn Manson Mob Scene. I like the way that this album was recorded. The bass is there. It's booming in the background. Now on to one of my favorite singers of all time. Definitely my favorite country singer. And I was torn between this song, Whatever You Say, Independence Day, and Where Would You Be? Those are three powerful songs that she sings. She has an amazing voice, a very powerful voice for being a short lady, very powerful voice. But I just went with this one because that album, even though I did it from her greatest hits, that album that Whatever You Say was on, the bass is there, and not just an annoying bass, but a deep bass. So when you hear this song, there is a bass rumbling that's in the back, right? It is in there, so it is in the back of your mind. Where is the other one? I don't know why it's not in here, but I did have Judas Priest in here. I don't know why it's not in here anymore, but we'll come back to that. I did have Judas Priest, Touch of Evil in here because again, that's another. Um, Rob Halford's a very powerful singer. Also, a very deep bass in there. It'll just come out and smack you in your face. Metallica, Enter Sandman. Those other songs I wanted to put in here. Like I wanted to put, I wanted to put Harvester of Sorrow because I like that album. I like the way the mids are. I like high mids. Um, and that's my favorite album by Metallica. And there's a growl in the beginning of Harvester of Sorrow. And one of the reasons why I like that album and I like to listen to that song, how well does that growl come out with your DAC? With Enter Sandman, obviously the Black Album was a very, 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 very well produced and recorded and engineered album. This is probably one of the best. Don't hate me, guys. One of the best heavy metal albums. It's not really a heavy metal album, but one of the best recorded heavy metal albums out there of all time. Very, very good. Um, Ministry, Just One Fix. This is the single, so this is the 8-minute version. So in the first 4 minutes is just the drummer and just background stuff. Um, Try to find this if you can. If you like Just One Fix, this will change your mind about this version. This thing, it's an 8-minute long version of the song. It's just the bass, and then halfway through they kick in with the rest of the band. And I love the way the mids and the bass of the guitar sound, not just the bass guitar as well too. Again, you could tell I like female singers. Natalie Imbruglia. This is her one and only hit, but it was recorded very well, and the acoustics in it are very good. And a lot of transitions. Well, not transitions, but ups and downs in the song, and how well does it um, deal with the different volumes in it. Nevermore. This is probably their best song. The River Dragon has come. And that's because Jeff Loomis is just kicking butt and taking names in this song. And I wanted to do some other Nevermore songs in here, like Insignificant, which is starts off acoustic, then goes to the distortion and back and forth, whatever. But I went with this one because it gets a little bit more technical in the guitar part, and he does a very good job of that. And so, does the DAT keep up with it? Nightwish, Dark Chest of Wonders. I think this is their best song. Now, a lot of people will probably say Ghost Love Score. I like it, but I think Dark Chest of Wonders is a lot better song, especially with the keyboards in the background and the operatic singing in the background. I think this is just a better song to do with, to listen with. Page and Plant, remember they did this back in '94. Saw them live after they did this album and toured. Was one of the best concerts I ever saw. But again, it's a live recording. Live recordings can cause you to hate a band, or it can cause you to love the band even more. But Thank You, one of my favorite songs by Led Zeppelin. Again, it's a live recording. yes, there's there's people in the background, there's the audience screaming and everything, but what does it reveal when it's just a few of them, right? There's no backing tracks. There's no, you know, 4 or 5 different guitar tracks, right? It's just only going to be a few. Live albums can make you hate a band very quickly. Pantera, I love this album. Um, and I did A New Level because the first 2 albums, I love the way the mids were. The mids were very loud. If you want to test your mids out on speakers, on headphones, on amps, or whatever, put in Pantera A New Level and get to that one, probably 30 seconds in, and you can hear that. Dude, those mids are just, it's killer. It's awesome. Love it. Love the mids when they're that high. Microphone Fiend, probably one of my favorite Rage Against the Machine songs. Um, Again, I love Rage Against the Machine. There's a whole bunch of different songs I wanted to put in here. Um, you know, Know Your Enemy was one of the ones I wanted to put in here, and Vietnam was one. But I said, you know what, this is actually a better recording, so I put that in there. I wanted to Testify or Sleep Now in the Fire, especially Testify in the beginning. That that part that sounded really good. But again, this was just a better recorded album, so I did Microphone Fiend, and that was the best song on that album. Do I need to even say Rush YYZ? Probably the greatest rock metal instrumental song out there, right? Great. So, but again, this is a 3-piece band. If you don't know who Rush is, that's it. 3 guys: bass, guitar, drums. That's it. How full does it sound? Right. So that's why I put that in here. This is an album that most people don't know. RTZ. This was one of Neil Schoen's from Journey, one of his side projects. He had a couple side projects. He had this one and the band Hardline. They had a song called Hot Sherry, and that came out in the 90s. But this was another one of his side projects. This album was very, very well. It is very clear and very crisp. And that's why I put that song in there, because that song, or any song from this album, mainly this one, it's a little bit slow song. Your headphone amp or your DAC will reveal. Um, this song will help you reveal if your DAC is a very resolving DAC or it's a clear, crisp DAC. That song can do that. Sarah Brightman, again, new age singer. She's got an awesome voice, very soft but very high, powerful voice, and she can overpower speakers very, very quickly. Not annoying like Mariah Carey does. Hers is natural. This is a great song. It builds. Again, very high pitched voice, but kind of that soft high. Deliver me. One of those, but very, very high. She can blow your speakers very quickly, So how high can I get it, basically, before I start hearing some crackling? Stone Temple Pilots. This album was awesome, even though I did it from the Best Of album. No, I didn't. Oh, I got to fix that. That's Core. That's the first album, but it's showing that other album. But Wicked Garden's awesome. The mids in this one. And then he changes, and then he's doing the full chords. Very, very revealing. Can be revealing with a good DAC. Stryper Yahweh. This is probably, they wrote this song a few years ago, and it's probably their best. No More Hell to Pay is another good one. Obviously, you go to the classics like Soldiers Under Command and Soldiers Under Command and To Hell with the Devil. But lately, they've been throwing out some monster jams. And in the beginning, or God was another great song. In the beginning, they have the choir vocals going in, and then they go through it very pounding, driving force, and then they break it down, kind of Iron Maiden-ish, or actually not Iron Maiden-ish, Black Sabbath-y with that. This song reminds me definitely of Black Sabbath. That you could tell Black Sabbath was a huge influence on them by this song and No More Hell to Pay. And what was the other one that came out recently? Oh, well, whatever. Great song to listen to. Tesla. Now, the reason why I put this in here, the engineer, when they were finalizing this album, he just had a beer and said, "F it, I'm going to throw the bass all the way up." That's basically what they did. Now it's not annoying like a set of Beats headphones. It's not a bass cannon, but it's very deep and it travels very far. Good way to test how much bass is in your speakers or headphones. The Sundays, Wild Horses doing the cover, the Rolling Stones cover, really good job. Again, top 5 cover, best covers out there. A lot of reverb, a lot of echo going on, especially with the electric guitar part. But the acoustic part and her voice is unbelievable. Really revealing how well does your DAC separate all this. That's what you're looking for. Tracy Chapman, Fast Car, very well, very well recorded album. Up there with the Nora Jones album, very well recorded. Um, Again, a lot of bass in the background. Tool, The Grudge, probably my favorite song. Everybody goes to I forgot the other song that they go to from this album, but I think The Grudge is the best album or best song they do. Especially this song. This song really builds. It gets loud, it gets soft, it gets loud, it gets soft. When you hit those transitions, those loud transitions to small transitions, how well does your DAC deal with that? Is it annoying? Do you have to keep turning the volume up and down, or are you leaving it there? And then it starts to build. Then and towards the breakdown, towards the end, it starts slowly building up. And then Danny Carey just goes nuts on the freaking drums. And the reason why I put that in there is obviously all because of the other stuff. But what's the timbre like? Is it hitting every? Can I hear him hitting every tom tom, every cymbal, and also hear the guitars as well and the bass as well too. U2, Where the Streets Have No Name. This is probably my favorite song by them. I think it's their best song. Same thing in the beginning, that intro. There's a lot of deep bass in it, so if you turn it up, you'll be able to hear it because the DAC will reveal it. So should the headphone amp. And then it comes in. A lot of moving parts in this song, especially with the drummer, where he keeps building. He keeps changing the bass drum hit. You know, he's hitting, and then towards the end, right? Can you hear that? Does it, reveal itself? Van Halen, Balanced, The Seventh Seal. This is a great song. Probably the best song on that album. Um, the reason why I chose this one, because if I remember correctly, this album came out when I was working at a record store, and they wrote this album, or they engineered this album, recorded it in a way it sounds better in your car or on your headphones than it does on big floor speakers. At least that's what I remember. So it's kind of made for this. Now, with that being said, a lot of different things are happening. You have the monks coming in, doing all that stuff, right? So there's going to be a lot of bass in that. And then one of the things that why Eddie Van Halen was a genius is because he had a way he'd write a riff, and then the second verse, the riff is a little bit different, where he's usually using open chords with it, or it's a different variation, and I kind of like that. He does that with this. And then he gets to now, another real good thing about this is, one, the mids are there, but two, the bad thing is, so is the freaking treble. Does your DAC and headphone amp reveal that, make it annoying to sound? The Wallflowers, The Difference, another good song, a lot of mid pops, especially with the drums. That's why I chose that one in there. The Promise, this could be a very bass booming song that could ruin the song for you. White Zombie, Children of the Grave, top 10 greatest covers of all time. Also recorded very well. The bass in the guitars and the bass guitar and the mids are there. It's awesome. I did it again. I did do that. See, I got to take one of these out. Electric Head, from Astro Creep. This was the first song on there. Again, the mids and the guitar. When you listen to these two songs, they recorded them at the same time. See, Astro Creep 2000, Astro Creep B-sides. So, of course, I had to put Whitney Houston in there, one of the greatest singers of all time. I went back and forth from this one because and I'm Your Baby Tonight. Now I like that song better than this one, but this one has a lot of more ups and downs with her voice. So her voice can reveal um, what your headphone doesn't or your speakers don't have. The Who, Baba O'Reilly did this one because of the intro. How much separation do you get, in that one? Wilson Pickett, he is just a freaking man. Do I even need to even do, do I even need to? It's just Wilson freaking Pickett, right? Now, obviously, Land of a Thousand Dances, that's his best song. He's getting down with that. But this was in the day of they put everybody in the same room and basically just put one microphone and have at it, record it. It's basically not really, but that it sounds like that. Um, a lot of crackling and hissing and stuff like that because of the way it was recorded. But how well can your headphone amp and your DAC deal with it? You know, so that's why I kind of put that version in there. That's from the very best of. But again, it's Wilson freaking Pickett. That's why he's on the list. Don't laugh at me. Do not send me hate mail. Don't call me names. But Winger, Miles Away, but from the VH1 Classic Metal Mania stripped album. It's just Kip Winger and and an acoustic guitar. Nylon stringed acoustic guitar, not metal string acoustic guitar. It is awesome. I guarantee you'll like that song. If you didn't like it before, which I didn't like that song, um, you'll like it now. It is very revealing. It's just him in one room in a closet with an acoustic guitar with nylon strings and him. Very soft, smoky voice was what he's doing. And coming to the last song, I got to put two more on there. I got to take one of these off. Actually, I'll probably take out Electric Head. Within Temptation, All I Need. Sharon has a very powerful voice for not being trained. She's very good for not being trained. Classically trained, I would say that. So she's just a natural talent. This is a great song. Um, and one thing I'll challenge you to listen to, see how many times the drummer actually stops in the middle, just like that. You'll hear him do that a lot. Great song, just in general, but this song could be very revealing. Female voices can be very, very revealing. So that is the list. Again, I don't know why it's not on here somehow. There was supposed to be Judas Priest, Touch of Evil on there. It's one of my favorite songs by them, but also one of my favorite guitar solos of all time. So that's just my list of songs that I use to test equipment with. So thanks for watching. I know this was a long video, but just wanted to give you some context on the songs that I listen to and why I listen to them. So with that being said, thanks for watching. Click like the subscribe button and like this video. Thank you.